What's up and what's happening, TPE family? We're back with another episode of the Pivot Experience podcast, where our aim and goal is to help leaders get better each and every week. I've got a special guest here by the name of Travis Walker. Now, here's the deal. I'll be honest with you guys. I did not know Travis from left to right a few months ago, but he approached me, and thank you so much for that, to be on his podcast, How to Adult. Now, if you look up How to Adult on Instagram and YouTube, it's going to look like a little kid. So you gotta, jump into my mind a little bit. When I seen this young man ask me about being on this podcast, I said, I guess I'm doing the teenage thing. But then I got the chance to see this young man in action, and I've come to love his platform, love what he's doing with his podcast, love his heart for the community. As we've been talking off record here,
Thanks.
He has a humongous heart for community work and trying to help our young people in our city just in general advance. And so Travis Walker is becoming a friend of mine.
Yes.
I like to say that because when you start to position yourself to want to try to do things and make things better for other people outside of yourself, you can't help but to want to try to gravitate and be a part of a person's journey when they can look outside of themselves and say, I need to help somewhere. So
yes.
That's all I heard you say the entire time we were talking
yes.
Before we got started. So Travis, how are you doing today?
Oh, absolutely wonderful, man. I appreciate you returning the favor and letting me come on your podcast. We had such a good time on mine. So excited to be here.
Good deal. So Travis, for those who don't know you, give us your elevator pitch on who you are and what you're about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think first and foremost, I'm a man of God. Have to say that first. A big portion of my life, and has to be, and because it's the driving force and gives me the vision to move forward and do hopefully some good things for a lot of people. I'm also a father, a husband. I've got a set of twins, an awesome wife. Her name's Amber. And then outside of those things, I feel like I've become kind of a person that I didn't really expect when I was a teenager, which was somebody that, really has dedicated themselves to helping people. I started my career as a public school teacher and then moved on to be a private school administrator, where my focus was the financial stability of the school. I helped a lot of people, met a lot of people, and had a great time doing it as well. And then recently I've transitioned into a role where I am the Director of Community Relations at the United Way of Beaumont in North Jefferson County. I'm working on doing some critical work, raising some critical funds because we fund 20 agencies and 36 different programs in the city of Beaumont. So doing some really great work and happy to be a part of everything that, my mentors and people that have believed in me, they've allowed me to be a part of. And so it's been a great ride for sure.
Awesome, man. So you started in education. Now you're in the nonprofit sector. Like, what are some factors that pushed you to get out of your norm in education to take on this new role at United?
Yeah. I think what I've always had a love for education. My mom's a longtime teacher. I was going through college. I earned my degree at Texas State University in public relations and mass communication, and then naturally went to the classroom to teach U.S. history, which doesn't make any sense at all. And my mom said, "Don't be a teacher," and I said, "I'm going to do it anyways." So I went into the classroom, advanced pretty quickly, did a great job there, developed some curriculum that for the district that I worked for. And had a really good time. And but there was a side of me that I wasn't addressing, which was, man, I've got a business mindset. I love the exchange of money, the exchange of goods and services, and just doing good work for people and exchanging value. And I wasn't doing that in the classroom, and I knew I wasn't doing that in the classroom, which is actually how to Adult was born. Was I was doing great in the classroom, but I had to do something else that was going to scratch the business side of my brain. And that's how that was born. And then I ended up leaving the classroom mainly because my wife and I got pregnant with twins, and that flipped our world upside down. We both entered a job transition at that point. And then I got into this role at the school, and my job was to contribute to the financial stability of the school and kind of move away the dependence from tuition and move some dependence onto our programming. And we did a lot of camps. That's where we saw a lot of success, was our camp programs, and tripled the revenue of the department in 2.5 years, and was able to contribute those dollars to allow the school to continue to do great work. And so, yeah, that's where it kind of all comes together in terms of uh, my time in education and where it's led me.
What would you say are some of the biggest challenges that you faced? Well, twofold, right? So you have challenges in the transition, but I guess maybe speak to some of the challenges. I would assume tripling, tripling the school income had to come with some level of resistance. Like, this might take us on a deeper dive
Yeah.
than our original set of questions suggest. But I would imagine, like, how was that changing that mindset of, yeah, as you know, the school that you're talking about is celebrating their 70th year.
Right.
So I would assume you came in on the back end of that 70th year,
Right.
and they'd be doing things a certain kind of way. What were some of the challenges that you faced in getting leadership to say, let's try this?
Yeah. Yeah. I
And I'm
think.
sorry if I'm throwing a curveball, because but that just kind of spurred the thought.
Yeah, that's totally okay. I think that the administration over there is really open to new ideas, and they had a specific goal of decreasing the dependence on tuition, and they saw an opportunity with programming, and so there was openness, there was a clear goal, and then the last piece I would say is that there was trust put on me that I was going to figure it out, and I was going to do what the position was put in place to do, which was make more money for the school to help kids get educated during the year. And so that's what I would say is what contributed to all that, is this great administration that were dedicated to the sustainability of the school, and trust put in me that I was going to figure it out. There's challenges in growing a program that quickly. This campus is not a huge campus, and there's maintenance that has to be done throughout the year, and so there were challenges there. And I think another big thing is that the Beaumont community at large responded very well to our programming, and wanted to be a part of it, and so we were growing very quickly, because we're growing a program that didn't exist in the city, and people really liked that. So that's what all contributed to it, of that huge growth in a short period of time.
Good deal. Good deal. So what are some of the challenges and hardships that you've encountered in your transition? I'm assuming walking into a new role from such a level of comfort, such a level of success, like walking into, the organization being a new guy. What were some of those challenges that you faced at that point?
Yeah, I think when you jump into a new role, you've got a huge learning curve. The organization I work for now has been around just as long as my previous organization. My current one was established in 1952. So there's a ton of history that you've got to catch up on. There's a ton of context. There's a ton of stuff of, yeah, we've already done that. It didn't work, or we haven't done that, but it's scary. But there's also a tremendous amount of openness as well. Today we were working on potentially moving away from one event that we've done for a long time and pivoting to a new one that I think is going to be more successful. And so there's a lot of that you got to learn. There's a learning curve, but also you were brought on for a reason, right? They brought me on for a reason. They honored my opinion, and so it would be a disservice to them to not share it. And so I try to skate the line of, you got to share your opinion, but also, hey, you're the new guy. You gotta play the new guy role a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's awesome that you're getting the opportunity to. One of the things we talk about in our business is you hire a person to do a job if they're trained and skilled in the things you think that they're supposed to do. Trust them to do it.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like the former and the current organizations that you serve is trusting you in your leadership. But how has your experience in private education, public education, in your first job,
Right.
how do you think that has molded you as an individual as it relates to your drive to want to be in the community? Now, I'm not going to ask you to talk about anything that we talk about often,
Yeah.
but in what spirit is that coming from?
Yeah, I think being in education really showed me in both of my roles in education, as a public school teacher and then as a private school administrator. It showed me how much I love people, and I love to contribute to their growth and contribute to their just their life and be a positive light in that. And so that I loved the mentorship side of being a public school teacher. I met a lot of great kids that are doing a lot of great things today. And then I loved being this administrator role was a little bit different because I was around kids that were a lot younger. I'm certified as a teacher for 7th grade through 12th grade. And then I went into a role where I was around 3-year-olds a lot. That freaked me out. Uh, but yeah, yeah. And fair enough. Fair enough. So that was a transition, and I learned to communicate with different levels of children, so the really the beginning of my career has showed me I love contributing to the next generation of adults that are going to have a greater impact than myself, and I think that I hold on to that because contributing to them is going to ensure that we've got a great future. And so being in education just it really showed me I love contributing to other people's growth, and I think I've showed that in different ways with the podcast. A big part of my podcast is making sure that people know the unknown of what's not taught in schools, and so yeah, I just love contributing to people and contributing to their growth.
Now, this next question might be an unfair question to ask because you haven't been at United Way that long. But is there anything that you've done so far during your tenure there that you're proud of, or is there any initiatives that you feel like either put in place or you're about to get to put in place that you are glad that's happening?
Yeah. There's some really great work. The United Way has a organization called the Local Link, and it's basically for people that like to be together, that are they value networking and the specific aspect of volunteering. And so I'm excited about growing that membership organization to a point where it's really doing what it's meant to do, and bringing people together that like to volunteer and contribute to their growth. Back to kind of my purpose. And then we've got a few different events that I'm changing slightly. The Hope for the Holidays, which is a distribution that the United Way has done in the past. I'm changing it a little bit to impact families a little bit greater during the holiday season, which is a very important time to support families. And there's one event that we're thinking about changing as of today. I can't speak to a lot of it, but I think that it's going to be a huge shift, and but I think it's going to be a positive shift, and it's going to give Beaumont a really interesting event that's going to raise money for a lot of great causes. So it's been great, even in my short time. Been there about a month. Yeah.
I think everything that you're saying, and this is no indictment to anybody else, but when you get fresh, new, young blood into an organization that may have been doing something a certain way for such a long time, just that revitalization. I always probably doing a great job and would probably still be doing a good job had you not came in.
Sure.
But just the perspective, you represent a younger demographic. You are exposed to the internet in a way that a lot of us did. I tell people all the time, we got Facebook when I was in senior. It was invite only.
Right.
You can just download the app and jump on it. Like someone had to know somebody to get you in. So that's a totally different world in perspective than maybe the world that you were
right
raised in around the same period of time. So those ideas are needed.
Yeah.
In multiple facets of our community, not just in the United Way. I'm not gonna go back to your transition.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure there's several other young people that are going to be transitioning from that entry-level job to that next career. What advice would you give them in doing the transition? Like, if you had to go back, was there something that you felt like you could have did differently, or was it something that you feel like you did really right? What advice would you give that young person that's doing that transition between one phase in their career to the next?
Yeah, I would definitely make sure that you give every transition needs a tremendous amount of thought. It needs a tremendous amount of prayer. It needs a tremendous amount of conversations if you have a significant other. And so everything needs to be thought out and not done in the heat of the moment. It's also got to be thought out in the sense of, okay, I'm taking this and this is this transition. What's the transition after that? And does this transition contribute to that second transition? When you're young and you have a whole career ahead of you, you've got to think a couple steps ahead to ensure that you're on the right path. Because if that first transition doesn't get you to that second transition, then it's not the right role. So I would say, really think it out, really talk it out, and make sure it makes sense financially as well, and then devise a plan of how you're going to really do that transition, and does that plan benefit all parties? Is it kind to the organization that you're leaving? Is it kind to yourself? Is it kind to the newer organization? Right, you don't want to leave the previous organization high and dry, right? You don't want to leave the new organization that really wants you. You don't want them waiting around forever for you. But you also have to be kind to yourself and know that if you stay in the previous role for too long because you're trying to be too kind to them, that's going to have a mental toll on you, right? Because your mind has already moved to the new organization, right? And so I think that you got to think things through and devise a plan that makes sense for everybody, because you're not going to please everybody. So you ultimately, you've got to please and be kind to all three of those parties. Otherwise, you're not professionally moving in the right direction. That doesn't mean you're going to make everybody happy, but you got to do the right thing because you got to protect your professional reputation in the process. Because the transition is it's hard on all three of those parties. But you gotta maneuver it as best as you can, and then be able to sleep at the end of the day.
No, I definitely agree with that. Like, if you are afforded the opportunity to be a part of the succession plan, try to do your best to set up the organization that you're leaving to be as successful as possible. Because ultimately, you're 1 month into your new gig, but what we know you for, you spent more time there.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? So at least currently, your professional reputation is still a whole lot of what was behind you.
Right.
And I just believe in the old fashioned statement of like leaving things better than what you left them.
Yeah.
If you leave in turmoil, now sometimes to your point, it's just gonna happen if the situation deems it. But if you can try to avoid that as much as possible, I agree that I love the way you put that together. Just those considerations. That was very eloquently put. How do you manage? You got twins.
Yes, sir.
I can't. I'm gonna be real with you. I can't wrap my brain around that. Like, I can't. Well, there's one.
Yeah.
The two.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Right.
Same level. Enduring the same hardship and the same amount of joy. Right. So
right.
Sure that's overwhelming to keep stuff together.
Right.
But when it's yeah. So how do you balance everything? Like you're transitioning from careers. You are a relatively still new father. I don't know what your recreational life looks like. And then above all that, you married.
Right.
Above all that, you want to maintain a relationship with God. How do you balance all of these plates? How do you keep them spinning?
Yeah, I would say not well, but it's okay though. It's okay to admit that I don't do it well. Yeah. It's okay to have hardships along the way because I'm at a point in my life where there is imbalance, and it's important to find the balance in the imbalance because that you can only do so well in your 20s and figure it all out and do right by people, right? And so I found that I just have to make sacrifices, and that is just part of fatherhood, and that's part of being a leader in your organization. And so I wake up at 4:45 to go to a 5 a.m. CrossFit Beaumont class to make sure that my body is taken care of. I started that last year. I just celebrated my year anniversary in July. Yeah, thank you. And so I got to make sure that that's taken care of. Then I spend, an hour or two at home making sure that my wife's set up for the day, and doing, the diaper changes, doing the breakfast, doing getting everybody dressed and ready to go. And then I go off and I go to work and I do my part there. And then I try to reserve my evenings for my family. It doesn't always work out that way. Yeah, that's why we're here. That we're here right now. It doesn't always work out that way because I also have to balance my own ambition, and I'm an ambitious person. I always have been. I believe I always will be, and I have to balance that ambition with, you got a family, dude. You got a body to take care of. You have your relationship with God to take care of, and I believe that. I don't think we can all do it all, but we place our priorities at different levels at different times, and so I try to figure that out. Sacrifice where I can. Sleep is usually the first thing to go. Yeah, yeah, and then trying to have a social life in the process is a part of it. I've been blessed where my job is social. I have to be around people. I'm wired that way. So yeah, it's just imbalance of all of it, and somehow it always works out. I don't know what it is. For example, in 2022, we moved from Central Texas to Beaumont in January. We got into our house in February. Both my wife and I started new jobs in January. Our twins were born in May, and I started my MBA program in March. 2022 was wild, but it all worked out.
One of the largest global things you've ever experienced for our life. It was almost like, I mean, not to cut you off, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It was almost like at 22, you hit press pause on a lot of this stuff, and the list kept accumulating, and you just press play. Big 2022. So let's get to it.
Yeah, let's go.
All the time that we did. Oh, man.
Let's go.
Kudos to you. But
it's imperfect. It's imperfect.
I think that's the best way to put it. I think sometimes my ambition is my Achilles heel.
Sure.
Because I want to do everything.
Yeah.
And I think some of it internally, yes, some of it may be a little selfish of the things I want to do. I really just want to show my kids, like, hey, look, use your gifts to the best of your abilities. Use your talents to the best of your abilities. If there's something that you want to do, and you can conceive the thought, you can put yourself in a position. Especially my kids, like I was telling you, like they're babies for the internet,
right?
So their access to information has already begun. Like we didn't have this fluid access to the information like they have, and so like if there's anything you want to learn, of course, still take advantage of the formal learning facilities and institutions that we have, but like if you want to learn how to create I don't know, if you have in your mind, I want to do a clothing line, there's a YouTube videos for you to figure out, and Google searches for you to figure out all the ins and outs and how to do that. Like I just think the economy that our children, your children too, are going to be playing in is just a little different, and I want to just illustrate the idea of like, if I want to do something, I'm going to have to work hard at it. It's not going to be given to me. And that's why I feel like I find myself in a lot of things trying to not necessarily just illustrate to them, but just, hey, Dad did what he needed to do in order to be able to create a lifestyle, and not just a lifestyle, but a life for us and an example for us. So, yeah, but I think sometimes that bites me.
Same.
I might go to bed at 12, wake up at 4, wake up at 4:30, having to try to get my little side business stuff in before work and go to work. And then, yeah, man, it could be a mess a lot of the days, but it's all worth it.
Yeah.
What is the future for Travis? So Travis has made this. Now I'm gonna go back to something you said. Right?
All right.
You said that making sure that the next transition benefits the next transition. Right?
Sure.
So what is the future for you in United Way or beyond?
Yeah.
How is this all going to play out in the grand master plan?
Yeah.
Press play on in 2022.
Well, I hope that I have a long tenure at the United Way, and that comes from producing and doing great work for them and producing some good results. So I'm hoping that I have a good tenure with the United Way, and I also hope that a big focus of mine is how I'm going to impact the community greater. I'm impacting the community by working for a great nonprofit that funds a ton of great nonprofits. But how can I utilize my talent further? God's given me certain talents that I believe are valuable, and I want to continue to give those talents and serve God in that way, and better our community as a whole. Beaumont's a great community to be a part of. We've got some hard history that we have got to move forward from, and I think that I can be a part of that and making it better. So that's the future for me, is do great work for the United Way, and see where I fit in making Beaumont a better place.
Awesome. Now, how does How to Adult fit into that?
Yeah, How to Adult is my podcast, and we've produced over 50 episodes.
I'm trying to get there.
And yeah,
You might be somewhere in that 50 range.
that'd be great.
Get down to it. I heard somebody says most podcasts don't make it to 50.
Yeah,
Most of them don't make it to 50, and
Yeah.
I want to at least dispel that. I might hang
Yeah.
to 50, but I want to at least get to 50 and say that we got there.
yeah, yeah. Most die before 7, so you're already doing quite well. And so, yeah, like I said, How to Adult was born from the pandemic. I was a teacher at that time, not scratching the business side of my head, and I was completely bored, and so I had to do something. I poured that into creating a podcast, and so how it fits in, I think that I'll continue to make episodes as I meet more people and as I have more things to say. I get in these spurts where I push out 15 episodes easily, and then life takes over. It's imperfect, right? And so take a little break, and then produce 15 more episodes. And it really, just the networking and meeting people has really taken the podcast somewhere I didn't even think it was going to go. As I meet people, I'm like, wow, you're really good at that, and people need to be better at that. So let's talk about it. And yeah, exactly.
Now that
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I reached out to you just because you knew somebody that I knew, and so it's just crazy how it all comes together. Yeah, so I think that the podcast will continue and hopefully continue to help people. And yeah, I absolutely love podcasts. I love talking, obviously. So
I guess, what is your process? Like, how do you go about selecting guests? Because I'm a roots. Okay.
uh-huh.
Before I came on, I did a little scroll on your Instagram feed for the podcast, and I was like, how are these dots connecting? Usually there's some similar. Some of them were like, whoa,
Yeah.
where's it come from? Where's your thought process in like selecting guests and selecting talking points?
Yeah. I think a big portion of my philosophy in terms of selection is we have something to learn from everyone. And so, like, I had a stand-up comedian on the show, and that doesn't make any sense, right? When you think about How to Adult, what are we going to learn from a comedian? Well, a comedian is very good at standing in front of somebody and sitting in front of a crowd and capturing their attention, keeping their attention, and making them laugh and making them smile. What a powerful thing. What a powerful skill. What do we have to learn from that person? And so some of them are in left field for sure, and that's definitely one of them. And some of them definitely make more sense, and watching people's journey of building a business and or managing a side hustle, and different things. One of my most popular episodes is actually of Megan Parker and her story of adoption, and walking through what the adoption process looks like, and how to navigate it. And and then a lot of my most popular episodes are actually a lot about the transitions that we've been talking about, of just navigating the early 20s and figuring this thing out, and how to land in a place where you'll be happy, emotionally and financially. And so it's a little bit all over the place, but it all comes back to, I want to contribute to adults' growth and stability, and making sure that they're taken care of, and doing a good work.
So, all in all, how if you're listening to this, how can one reach you? Where does your podcast live? Do you have Instagram, LinkedIn? Can you let the audience know how they get in touch with Travis Walker?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm happy to help anybody. Yeah, if you're interested in the podcast, it's wherever podcasts are found. How to Adult with Travis Walker. That's a great way to find the podcast. If you want to just reach me and maybe get some advice, get some extra thoughts from me, my LinkedIn's a great place to reach me. Travis Walker, comma MBA, just for fun. So those are great places. If you want to just find the episodes anywhere podcasts are found. If you want to follow the podcast on Instagram, it's at How to Adult TW. That's a great place to follow the podcast.
Awesome. And one parting,
Uh-huh.
what advice would you give? I was actually you're too far away from that.
Yeah.
I guess teenage,
Yeah.
or just any younger version of yourself. When you look back at that, and what advice could you pour to yourself that would have helped change or help grow you more than what you currently are?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. I would say, Travis, you're a leader, whether you like it or not. Wherever you are, you're a leader. And it's important to utilize that leadership in a way that is people first. I had to learn that lesson the hard way. And I think if I was a people first leader earlier, I would have been in a better place. Not that I think I'm in a bad place. I think I'm in a fine place. But I found that being a people first leader is really, it can take you so much further faster. Whether that's with your direct reports, making sure that they're valued and loved and taken care of, whether that's with your customers, making sure that they're valued and loved. I think that all of that comes from take care of people, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, I love it. Serving people first, prioritizing people. But there you guys have it, TPE family. We've had another awesome guest. Thank you so much for coming here today.
Yeah.
I like to do the in-person interviews. I guess it just feels a little bit more authentic versus me looking at the screen
Sure.
the entire time. So I'm thankful for you being willing to do that. TPE family, hopes you've learned something about transitioning, putting people first, doing nonprofit work, having a heart for your community, and really jumping into all what that means to do that. Until next time, TPE family, peace.
Tap into the Pivot Experience where we help young, hungry entrepreneurs move on to the next step.